Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking all about loose watercolor roses, specifically 5 tips for improving your roses. If you're looking for a step-by-step rose tutorial, check out the one linked at the top because today's video won't necessarily be a tutorial format. Instead, we're going to talk through some simple ways to elevate your roses from blobs like this to beautiful romantic blooms like this. So let's get into it. Let's get straight to it, starting with tip number 1, which is to keep your white space in mind, especially for the center of your roses. The biggest mistake or frustration that I usually see when people are painting roses is they often end up looking just kind of like big blobs of color. And this usually happens when you disregard your white space. The white space is actually what gives your petals separation and definition, which is especially important in the center of your rose, where you want those strokes to be a bit more defined. As you paint in the dainty center petals, just be sure to leave some white space and you'll notice a big difference in the outcome of your roses. Number 2, alter the color values to convey depth in your roses. The center petals are typically tighter and darker. So when you paint those, use a deeper value or a more concentrated color mixture, and then gradually get lighter and lighter as you work your way toward the fluffy outer petals that are more exposed to light, so they're lighter in value. This will help give the illusion of depth and prevent your roses from looking flat. Number 3, this one kind of goes along with number 2, but try adding in a touch of a second color to your outer rose petals for a more interesting, dynamic look. For example, when I'm painting peachy pink roses, I usually like to drop in some warm yellows using the wet on wet technique. It's a simple step that adds a lot to the final look. Or for another example, you could try adding a touch of blue to a purple rose. Again, this just really helps to bring your roses to life and prevents them from looking dull. Number 4, use layers to enhance your roses. I talk about this one quite a bit in my online class that is all about painting watercolor roses. I'll have that linked down below, but take a look at these 2 examples. This one is a single layer rose. It's not that bad, but it looks pretty simple. There's not a whole lot to it. Whereas this one has a couple of layers and it looks a lot more interesting, realistic, and almost 3D, but still keeping with the loose style. You can layer your petals by adding them on top of a base layer like this. You can add a second layer of darker petals on top of the first petals, or you can do both. Remember, watercolors do tend to dry quite a bit lighter than when you first put the paint down on paper. So adding multiple layers can help to keep your petals vibrant and add to the illusion of depth. Number 5, use a soft, thirsty brush to create softer and fluffier petals. You have probably heard me rave about the Neptune brushes in all of my tutorials, but they truly are the best for painting loose roses, especially these size 6 and size 8, which are by far my most used brushes, and I'll have all of these linked down below as well. When you're working with brushes that are stiff, it's pretty hard to achieve loose style petals because the bristles just don't really expand out on the page very much, and they typically don't hold a lot of water. So those ones are great for getting your fine lines and details for tighter illustrations, but thirsty brushes like these hold a ton of water and the bristles really just splay out super far on the paper, allowing me to create these huge petals that are just beautiful for loose florals. So there you have it. Those are my 5 quick tips for improving your loose roses. I do have several tutorials here on YouTube with in-depth instructions that you can follow along with if you'd like to learn my style, as well as an online class that teaches you 5 different ways to paint roses, which I will link down below in the description box. I hope you found this video helpful. I know it was just short and sweet, but I paint a lot of roses and these are typically the things I like to keep in mind to keep them vibrant and beautiful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions at all, and I will see you in another video very soon.